DJ and PK reminding you, don't miss your chance to win big every week on The Zone. This week on Win Ticket Wednesday, you can win a pair of tickets to see A Day to Remember at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on July 21st. Listen to The Zone all day yesterday for your chance to win. We're joined now by Kurt Schmid. He's a chief soccer officer for Real Salt Lake. Means he's running the front office. Is that exactly what that means, Kurt? Did I just summarize that properly? For a term that people aren't used to knowing exactly what that means?
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
Okay. There are a few questions. I understand that you developed a motto, winning through development. What is that? How did that come about? Why did that come about?
Winning together through development. And, it just encompasses a few of the core values and the principles that we embody. And, we want to make sure that we develop. And, that means developing players, but also developing coaches and people and staff. We want to make sure we win, right? And we want to do it in a collaborative way. And so when we're making decisions at the club, we ask ourselves if it serves 1, 2, or 3 of those things. And if it doesn't serve any of them, we're not going to do it.
So what happens when some of those things are in conflict? Because I got asked this, and honestly, I didn't know how to answer it. And I think it came about because people were interested in, why is Gavin Beavers starting for Zach McMath? And I understand Beavers is expected to get a certain number of starts. I mean, you never know about health, so I guess everything's up in the air a little bit. But the thought that he'll get 12 or 14 starts or something like that this year, I guess that goes back to winning through development, but you want to win, so you want to start the best guys. So how do you reconcile that?
Yeah, I think Gavin's someone with a lot of potential, and he's a good player now, right? And it's not just playing guys that have potential but aren't good enough at this point. We think that the young guys that we're playing are good enough to impact the game right now. So we don't think those goals are at odds in that situation. We think that we're serving both.
There are a lot of young guys to develop. Diego Luna is young and obviously promising, but he's away with the national team this week. And Andres Gomez is young and developing. Certainly everybody got a taste of what he can do against LAFC. And I think the crowd that weathered that storm, literally, enjoyed what he had to offer in that game. That was an eye-opener. But he's away with his national team. So now what for RSL against Vancouver? What should people expect to see? Or now who?
Well, first, I mean, congrats to Andreas and Diego and Gav and everyone that's getting an opportunity to represent their national teams. That's a massive opportunity, a massive honor, and it's something that we always want to support. And even when it's maybe a little bit at odds with one of our games, but it's still something that we want to support, and we're proud of those guys, and we wish them a ton of success this weekend. For us, it's going to give other guys opportunities. And, you hear stuff like next man up mentality and things like that. And, that's part of it. But we also think we have some good young players that haven't played as many minutes. And, they're going to get an opportunity to go play and show what they can do. So we're excited to see that.
What have you seen from Fidel Barajas? He's 17 years old. I've heard about what he's been able to do. We've seen a little bit of it. What are your expectations for him, and what should fans expect? Because whether he starts or comes in as a sub, I expect, given the way the roster looks this weekend, he's going to play. The question is when and how much.
He's a really talented young player, right? He's got a great left foot. He can beat guys off the dribble 1v1. He sees the game really well. He can create with his passing. He can finish in the box. He's obviously not the finished product yet. He's still a young kid, but he's got some really, really good starting points. And the more we expose him to this environment, the more he's going to learn, the faster he's going to learn and adapt and become, closer to that finished product. So we're excited to see what he can do. We're happy we've gotten him in some games already. I think he'll probably get more time in this one, as you alluded to. And so we'll see how it goes. But we're really excited to see him go and think he's going to do some good things.
I don't understand with the impact that academies are having on player development. There's so many clubs now that have academies, so they're bringing guys in. In other sports, kids are in travel teams and they're in their high school program, and then they're probably in college in most sports, maybe not in baseball, and then they're in the pros. But here, I mean, kids are in a fairly, even if they're not professionals, they're in a fairly professional environment at 14, 15, 16 years old. And yet we're seeing some of these kids leave those academies and go to the USL and kind of leave that structure. And you've found a couple of good young players, Diego Luna and Fidel Braz there. How do guys with that much talent end up essentially free agents when everyone's trying to develop young talent and they're off in the USL with some club that is unaligned usually with the MLS and the traditional development system?
Yeah, I think USL's, trying to find a little niche or a market inefficiency where they can poach some talented young players and be a bridge for them to achieving their goals, where maybe the club that they're at right now isn't facilitating that as quickly as they would like. So, they've stepped in, different teams have tried to step in and give those guys that opportunity. It's actually not maybe the best thing for every kid to pursue that opportunity. It's not every kid can step in at 16, 17, 18, 19 years old and succeed at that level right away. But for those that can, and they feel that they want to take that step, and that's a little bit of a risk, right? Stepping outside of your comfort zone and your home environment, it can be really rewarding for them. And for us, as we're scouting, it's just another really, really good data point where we see what they can do against more physically mature competition, more mentally mature competition, and it gives us a read into what we think they can do at the MLS level. And so I think for us, we look at it and how do we give our guys those opportunities here so that they don't need that, right? But when we look at other clubs that are doing it, we can use a little bit of a market inefficiency ourselves.
RSL's at Vancouver this week. Pregame at 4:30 here on the Zone on Saturday. First kick 5:30 Saturday night. Vancouver, historically, the numbers say that Vancouver, Colorado, San Jose have a hard time making the playoffs. That's usually a place you got to try to pick up points when you're playing one of those teams. But Vancouver this year with a pair of road wins, 7 points in their first 9 games. What are they doing so well? Because there's no doubt about it, through 3 games, this is a good start for them.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's part of it is that it's so early. Like nobody knows exactly what anybody else is quite yet. It's early in the season. Teams are still figuring themselves out, figuring the opponents out, and it's tough to know exactly what everyone's got going. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't take away a good start for them. The saying goes, 3 points in March are as good as 3 points in September. So you take them when you can get them, and that's what we'll be looking to do.
How often do you go on the road, and how often are you out? Because you're responsible for scouting you could be at another game also looking at young talent, thinking about the summer window or the next transfer window. How often do you go on road trips with the team, and how often are you off seeing somebody else somewhere else?
It's a pretty good split. I mean, these days I've got a good staff with me with Luke Mulholland and Dr. Joe Thomas that do some traveling that I don't need to do, and so they can cover ground and help us expand our reach. And then I come in maybe a little bit later in the process than I have in the past. But I try to go as much as possible to watch us play, because obviously scouting is it's sort of a two-pronged thing. We need to go find the prospective players, but we also need to know what we have and what we need. And so it's important to be incredibly obviously familiar with both sides of it. And so we want to watch our guys in training. We got to watch them in games as well and see, in person what it looks like. And that helps refine the vision of what we need and how we make it better.
Yeah. I would definitely go on the Vancouver trip just because I love Vancouver. I'd never been to Vancouver. Yeah. That's an underrated city.
It is a nice city. Yeah. Pacific Northwest. I lived there for a little bit. It's a nice place.
Yeah. But you're partial to Seattle.
Exactly. Very green up there, but very wet.
Yeah. And it's an early season trip. I have to say, I was on Vancouver trips in July and August, and I get the brief window of summer and get Vancouver at its best. That was awesome up there.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think as you analyze your team? And I know it is early, so everybody, you get new information. You get to have a new opinion, and you may have a new opinion in a month or 6 weeks or whatever. But early on, when you look at the summer transfer window, are there any things you're sizing up, thinking maybe in this area a little help would be a good idea?
There's a couple things we're looking at in terms of improving competition and depth within the squad. In both the attacking and the defensive side, I think, improvement, competition is always critical for a team. It's what keeps everyone sharp and honestly spurs that development that we're striving for. But I've been really happy with how the team's played and how they're adapting to what is essentially a bit of a new style and a bit of a new system, and how we're adjusting to those things. The young players coming along, you talked about Andreas and his game in LAFC, and obviously we know what Diego Luna can do, and Chicho, and seeing Matt Crooks integrated in the team. So I'm pretty happy with how things have gone, and I think we're keeping our eyes peeled and are trying to be nimble and able to adapt to anything that comes up or any circumstances that change. But in the meantime, we are looking for a little bit of competition in both the attacking end, kind of the attacking midfield area, and maybe the back line.
I talked to Matt Crooks this week for the first time, and his backstory is so interesting. He's working with a couple of foundations, one because his best friend was killed when he was 25 years old, and he works with a foundation on behalf of his friend's memory. They got a circle of friends there. He works with groups that support people who have epilepsy because he does. His dad played in the Deaf Olympics and represented England there. He's 30, so he's not a young guy, but he's young to me because 30's way in my rearview mirror. And it seems like he has been through a lot, but it leads to him. You're talking to him, and he's got the accent and all that, and I had to listen close to really get it, but you could really hear the emotion in his voice. He's I love the stories about sports at this point, and he's had many stories in 30 years.
Yeah, it's a pretty varied and certainly interesting and incredible, backstory that he has, and I think it's all come together to make him the person that he is today, right? And I think he's a pretty incredible person. So, it's a good reminder that as we're out there in the world, scouting and looking for players, and finding someone that is talented on the field is obviously very important, but finding the right people to integrate not just into the locker room, but into the club and into the community is also really, really critical and adds a lot to what we're trying to do here.
Well, the thing I got from him is the empathy he has for other people's stories and what they may have been through. And he mentioned that he went to the club website and read the profile on Andres Gomez, and he was reflecting on what an incredible journey for Andres Gomez and all the things he went through. And that's really new. He said, in North America, you see a lot of players from South America, but in England, he didn't really get exposed to that. And he had just read it and was pretty blown away by Gomez's story. So everybody's got a backstory.
Yeah. Did you read it? It was.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I knew exactly what he was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and just it was to listen to what the adversity that Andres had to push through, and it's crazy. It almost seems random sometimes, the set of circumstances that kind of contrive or come together to make things happen for someone like that. And obviously, I think he's on the right track, and I'm sure he's happy with how things are going so far, and we're happy with him as a player and a person, and but it's incredible when you read how he got to this point.
Yeah. All right, well, we will let you go. Go get a drink of water and heal that throat right there, Kurt. And we appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us, and enjoy Vancouver.
I appreciate it.
All right, there's Kurt Schmid from the RSL front office. When we come back, top of the hour, we're going to talk Aggie basketball. NCAA tournament game tonight. Scotty G, can the Aggies end their personal 23-year dry streak here without going around at 32? And can they end the state streak that is now at 8 years and growing? We were really spoiled by awesome college basketball for a long time. Been a little less than awesome here lately. Will someone break through? It's the Aggies' turn to take a swing and see if they can do it. We'll find out. We'll talk with Scotty. Game's coming up at 8 o'clock tonight right here on The Zone. Scotty G joins us at the top of the hour.